Johnson made over $83 million through NBA salaries. But by 2015, he filed for bankruptcy.
All right, welcome back to another After Dark, everyone. Hope you all are having a good night so far. Hope you guys are having a good day. So today we're going to learn about the importance of investing. This video is titled 8 NBA Players Who Went Broke Very Quickly. Yep. Let's do it. I was asked to do this one from comments, and yeah, okay, this is a different subject. So this is from Andy Hoops, 520,000 subscribers. Great channel, you guys. I'm gonna link the original video down below in the description for you if you guys want to check it out. Yeah, also there you'll see a list of channel members. Thank you all, channel members. I appreciate you all. What else to say on the intro? Yeah. This is not a finance channel, but I do know a thing or two about investing. So this is going to be interesting. I'm curious what path led to these players getting broke. I mean, honestly, the most common one is just straight up, the second you get the bag, you start spending money left and right, and you keep thinking the money is going to come in and it's always going to be this way. And then something happens, you might get injured or something might happen in your life. Next thing you know, the money runs dry. And it turns out you blew all your money on a bunch of crap. And yeah, bad things happen. Really bad things happen. Quick story before we get into it. When I was serving the community in behavioral health, what was this, about 6-7 years ago, I did have one client, member, patient, whatever you want, whatever term you prefer, and he won the lottery, okay? We're talking, I think it was about $50-something million. He won the lottery. He won the lottery and he was gambling. Okay? So he was gambling his lottery winnings, and then he started drinking, and then he started doing heavier drugs because he was losing all of his money and gambling, and next thing you know, he was broke, and I was trying to find him like a group home to live in. That's when I found him. So yeah, I've heard plenty of these stories. I've seen a lot of people go from riches to rags. It's the opposite of rags to riches. And it's usually because of something crazy like that. So anyways, you guys, like the vid if you could. I'd appreciate it. And let's do this.
NBA players, especially at the turn of the century, have made astronomical amounts of money. Millions upon tens of millions, sometimes even hundreds of millions.
Well, now we have cases of billion as well.
You would think that they'd be set for life.
Should be.
That they'd accumulate enough wealth for their families to be good forever, to be passed down from generation to generation, to make sure their future family members will live comfortably. Unfortunately, as we all know, that's not the case. Plenty of people are not responsible. In fact, most of them aren't. Not just athletes, but most upper-class folks in general. According to SxADk, 70% of families lose their wealth by the second generation.
That makes sense.
And 90% lose it all by the third generation.
That makes sense because the second and third generation didn't have to put in the work to earn that money, so it's not as tangible, and I don't know how else to say it, but it wasn't earned by them. So spending someone else's money is always a lot easier than spending your own, apparently.
Things like poor management, poor life choices and decisions and investments, and not enough guidance in their lives. Mm-hmm. All of these things affect NBA players as well. In fact, 60% of NBA players go broke within 5 years of retirement.
Jeez,
pretty freaking crazy.
That is nuts.
How's it going, folks?
Man, imagine having like $100 million, $200 million, but you blow it in 6 years. Guys, I'm telling you, if you ever come across some big money, just stick half in the S&P 500 right now. VOO, ticker. You got Robinhood? Just do it. Just do it. Stick the other half in the bank and earn some interest. You just preserve the damn money, man.
Name's Andy, and today let's talk about 8 NBA players who lost all of their money in their own interesting way.
That's gonna be brutal.
How did they manage to lose it all? And what's been going on with their lives today? Anyway, without further ado, let's begin. Number 8, Antoine Walker.
Yep, I remember this one.
3-time All-Star, $108 million earned throughout his career.
Damn.
Walker was well known among basketball circles. Even before entering the NBA, he was an absolute stud in college and the 6th overall pick in the legendary '96 class.
Yeah, he was awesome.
But just 2 years after retiring, Walker filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy in 2010. What happened? Well, a bunch of things. Growing up poor, Walker wanted him and all his family and friends to live an extravagant lifestyle. He'd spend loads of money on cars, on jewelry, houses, not just for himself, but also a huge number of his friends. Walker apparently helped approximately 30 other people move into better situations, and freely gave them cash without even making them pay him back.
Damn.
When addressing this, he stated, "I gave them whatever they wanted and spoiled them. You can't do that. It ended up being an open ATM throughout my career.
Dang.
I created a very expensive lifestyle. That's how you lose your wealth real bad at the beginning."
Yeah, and that means these people aren't even your friends anymore. They just see you as a walking ATM machine.
To make matters worse, he retired around the same time as the 2008 recession, so his real estate firm went downhill and he had to pay $20 million to the banks.
Oh, too bad. Shoot. Imagine if he would have had control of his own money and known, buy the dip. Imagine if he would have just took his $100 million and just put it in right there. Oh my God.
To add on to that even further, Walker also filed false checks and had to pay.
By the way, I don't really want to make jokes about what this was. A lot of people lost a lot during the '08 situation. I lost a home. That was a rough time. But in hindsight, this is where I started learning about finance. But when you see something like this, and if you go look at like stock charts and stuff like that, that's when all the rich people were buying. And that's where I started asking questions like, why would they? Oh, it made sense. But it's the last thing any of us is really thinking about when, the country seems like it's going to all hell, is to actually invest money into it. It breaks all natural psychology, but that's how the wealthy invest.
Went downhill and he had to pay $20 million to the banks.
Oh my God. Let me hear that again. Hold on.
Retired around the same time as the 2008 recession, so his real estate firm went downhill and he had to pay $20 million to the banks.
Holy crap, were they leveraged?
To add on to that even further, Walker also filed false checks and had to pay millions in gambling debts too.
Oh, he's gambling too.
As you can tell, it's no surprise that he lost it all. But he used his tragic story as a way to educate others. Nowadays, he's a spokesman for young athletes, traveling to universities to educate them to not make the same mistakes he did.
Good.
Despite his struggles, it's cool to see him turn it into something positive.
Yeah, I saw him on a podcast a little while back. That's how I heard about these stories. I had no idea that happened to him. But it's really cool that he's giving back now to prevent. I mean, we need people like this within professional sports. Just teaching these young kids who end up with hundreds of millions of dollars. So a lot of them, they just became an adult at 18. Look at LeBron James. If he didn't have a proper team around him, it could have been a whole different story. But he, at the age of 18, signed a deal with Nike for $100 million. Okay? So if he didn't have people teaching him what to do responsibly with his money, who knows what would have happened. But yeah, I would like to see a lot of people within these professional sports leagues teaching these young kids as financial advisors.
Number 7, Larry Johnson.
Oh.
You might recognize him for his dominance in Charlotte.
Yeah, but I didn't know he went broke.
Iconic 4-point play in New York, or his appearance in Space Jam.
Yeah.
Johnson made over $83 million through NBA salaries. But by 2015, he filed for bankruptcy.
Damn,
what
man.
drained most of his cash was due to child support payments.
What?
Larry has 5 children with 4 different women.
Oh.
Or at least that's what we know. It could be more. This issue came to light when one of his baby mamas, Laura Tate, wanted Johnson to pay $900,000 in child support that he owed. But Johnson couldn't pay it, and even tried to get Tate to abort her baby a long time ago.
Jesus.
A few years later, he also skimped out on a $2,700 dentist bill in 2017. He couldn't even pay for that either.
Shoot.
Fortunately, the Knicks gave him a chance and hired him as a business operations representative. So he's back to being part of the NBA scene, but this time behind the curtains. Number 6.
That's wild. That's wild. Damn, man. LJ, at least he's earning his money back.
Erick Strickland. You probably have never heard of him. Strickland was an undrafted player of the 96 class.
Yeah, no, I remember Rod Strickland, but not an Erick Strickland.
Went on to have a solid 8-year career, where he earned $13 million.
Okay.
But what's interesting was how he lost all that money. Strickland is a good example of why you should not let a family member or close friend handle your finances.
Oh, no.
And instead, you should find someone with actual experience.
Once again, why I think it's important for these guys to be taught. Not assigned somebody to not a money manager or a finance manager. They need to be educated on how to preserve and invest their own money. Do it themselves. It doesn't take a lot of time. If you're doing it smartly and safely, you're not making moves and swing trading. You're just slow growth over years. So you don't need someone to manage your money in that situation. You just educate yourself and do it yourself. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about the freaking NBA here. They got so much money and so many resources. So this would be easy to just pay a couple of people to do this.
Strickland's father managed his money and used it to buy a plot of land on sale for $1.8 million. Apparently, according to, quote, a friend of a friend, he said it was appraised at $3 million. So this was a good deal, right? No, it turns out that appraisal was fake, and it wasn't worth nearly as much as the price he bought it for. Along with many other bad investments from his family members.
What happened to the land? What happened to the land? By this point, it should be way more valuable than that, unless he really got ripped off.
Strickland quickly went bankrupt and lost everything he earned.
Oh.
For an undrafted player to live out his dream and then lose everything? That's gotta hurt.
Yeah, this is a valuable lesson, guys. Don't let anybody manage your money. Anybody. I don't even let the banks do it. You know, like, I'm not going to have some financial advisor doing this. Like, no. If you really know finance that well, you should be at a major firm, in my opinion. Like, I can manage it myself. But yeah, don't let a friend or a family member do it, somebody you think you trust, because you think you trust them, and maybe they are trustworthy until they've got $12 million in their hands. How deeply do you really trust people? Because $12 million will mess with people's heads.
Number 5, Latrell Sprewell.
Yeah, I know about this one.
I'm sure
this one, man, I was a huge Latrell Sprewell fan. I still got so many of his cards from the 90s because I was such a big fan. And then he had the pool that I got kids to feed quote that I will never forget. Just watch this.
Sure, you've all heard of the legendary quote, I've got a family to feed.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like that became the reality. In 2004, Sprewell turned down a 3-year, $21 million contract because he felt he was worth way more than that.
Yeah.
But after
I think he was feeding his family $1 million bills, and he was messing up. That's why he needed more millions.
Rejecting it, he didn't get any other significant offers. Despite making nearly $100 million over his career, his negative attitude and his overall incompetence when it came to money management shouldn't be any surprise. In 2007, he walked out on his own family, and he got sued for $200 million for doing that.
Oh, what? Wait, how do you... I'm not going to begin to understand what that means.
A few months later, his yacht got repossessed because he couldn't pay for it.
Oh yeah, you got kids, you got family to feed, but you're cruising on a yacht, huh?
And he couldn't pay his $1.5 million mortgage on his first mansion either.
Oh, you got a mansion, but you're concerned about feeding your family, huh? This is why that quote pissed me off so much, because you know he's living a lavish lifestyle, but he's got to put out a quote like that when there's so many people. The majority of the population is struggling to put food on the table, and him, 21 mil, 7 mil a year for playing basketball, nah, not enough.
In 2009, he lost his second mansion as well, and also owed
2 mansions. I'm sorry, man. The stat keeps getting higher. He owed $3 million in back taxes. Does he go to jail? You can't pay that. Let's see.
$3 million in back taxes. So, as of 2015, he got no home, no family, and rents out an apartment like most middle-class residents. I guess he should have accepted that $21 million offer back in 2004, but then again, he probably would have blown that too.
He would have, yeah. It's too bad because that was a contender. I loved that team, actually. Sam Cassell, KG, and Latrell. Like, I loved all 3 of them, and they were great together. But greed, man, greed. How do you spend that much money? That means he's spending more than 7 mil a year. Like, and he wanted to spend even more than 7 million a year. That's why he wanted a higher contract. This is insanity.
Number 4, Derrick Coleman.
Oh, man, I love Derrick Coleman.
Coleman's destruction of wealth was quite different than the norm.
Okay.
He wasn't a huge spender on luxury goods, he wasn't a gambler, he wasn't a bad family man.
Okay.
But what he did do was invest the majority of his $87 million into development projects in Detroit.
Oh.
He grew up there, but in the 90s and early 2000s, the city was falling off hard. Attempting to revitalize Detroit, Coleman's desire to invest in the city clouded his judgment. According to his lawyer, Mark Burke, he stated, Mr. Coleman was focused on investing in various communities throughout the city of Detroit by developing real estate, creating jobs, and revitalizing business opportunities. But due to the state of the economy, including the decline in the real estate market, Mr. Coleman's investments could not be sustained.
Damn.
This was also around the time of the 2008 recession as well. Some of those investments included Hilton hotels and fast food chains, but he just couldn't capitalize on those, as it was a hard time for the entire country, and people weren't moving into Detroit as quickly as he hoped. While most of his wealth has vanished, Coleman still lives in Detroit, not living a luxurious life, but still content with what he's learned and what he's lost.
Okay, Derrick Coleman, I knew I always liked you, man. Was it a bad investment? I guess so. We can't deny it. But you were doing it out of the kindness of your heart, and I commend you, sir. That was, if someone's gonna go broke, at least they did it trying to do good deeds instead of just blowing it on yachts and stupid crap like that. Dennis Rodman, is he broke? I mean, I guess I wouldn't be surprised, but is he broke?
Number 3, Dennis Rodman. Since Rodman's career was in the 80s and 90s, the salary back then wasn't as high, but he still managed to make $27 million. It was a lot back then. I mean, it's still a lot today, but players of his caliber make way more nowadays. His loss of wealth wasn't anything strange, it was the usual. Child support, luxury spending, partying a lot, living a lavish lifestyle. But to add on to that, he got scammed. Do you guys know of Peggy Fulford?
I don't think so.
She was a close friend of Rodman who managed to build a sports management business with him as a client, along with many others, including other NBA and NFL players. She called herself a financial advisor, and eventually, Peggy was given control of Rodman's bank account.
All right, guys, we learned this lesson a few minutes back. Never hand your money over to somebody, even if it's a financial advisor. Don't hand your money over to them. Let's find out what she did with it.
Basically, she was involved in a massive scandal with herself at the center. At one point, she controlled 85 different bank accounts of famous athletes and celebrities.
Ricky Williams.
As she would move money from one account
Travis
to another
Best.
and spend money liberally and making herself rich. She was laundering millions through fake shell companies, but was eventually caught and sentenced to 10 years in prison.
Good.
Unfortunately, Rodman was a victim of the scam and lost millions from that alone. It also doesn't help that he was involved in various crimes in recent years. DUI arrests, assaults, theft were only the surface of his issues. Number 2, Scottie Pippen.
I was waiting for Scottie. I was waiting for this one. I hate to admit it. The second I read this title, when I was asked to watch this, I thought about my man Pip.
While Pippen did not go completely broke, he still lost the majority of his NBA earnings through various means.
Yeah, and I wonder how much money he made out of that book, because he needed to do it. As much as that book pisses me off, he got himself in such a situation. Why do you have a private jet, man? Why'd you do it?
One time, he purchased a $4 million jet that didn't even work because he forgot to get someone to inspect it. Another time, he sued his own management firm, claiming that...
Can you imagine? Okay, we don't buy a car without test driving it, right? Can you imagine being that irresponsible? I'm sorry, man, I'm just going to say it plain. Be that financially irresponsible that someone's going to be like, yo, you want to buy this jet? And you go, or you want to buy this plane? You go, sure, here's the money. You don't even test fly it. You don't even go up and make sure everything's cool, let alone get an inspection done. Then it is what it is, man. You know, you're not a victim here. You done did this to yourself. We learned this lesson from a young age. You don't buy something until you see it works.
Losses from bad real estate investments were entirely their fault and not his own. This included a $3 million work because he forgot to get someone to inspect it. Another time, he sued his own management firm, claiming that his losses from bad real estate investments were entirely their fault and not his own. This included a $3 million investment in Chicago, which ultimately failed, and Pippen lost most of that money. For a guy as talented and well-known as Pippen, you'd expect him to be, relaxing, basking in his riches, but instead, due to his enormous losses, he had to accept a job at ESPN as an analyst. Now, he has to continue working, despite most of his peers already being retired.
By the way, this was from, when it's come out, this is from 4 years ago. So, was he still an analyst at that? Either way, it doesn't matter. We all saw him at ESPN as an analyst. I forgot what else I was going to say.
Great to see him there to get his perspective on the 90s and playing with MJ, but it's not something that he wanted to do, especially in his 50s.
What's wild about Pip is that we all know, even when he was playing with the Bulls, money was always on his mind. He was always trying to make more money. He was always fighting for more money, and I get it. But you would think when he got his hands on that money, he'd be more careful with it. He'd protect that money more. But it's just not the case.
And number 1, Allen Iverson.
What? Whoa, wait. No way. Okay. Let's see. Number 1?
Iverson made about $250 million in his NBA career, combining his salary and off-court endorsements. He completely breezed through that money. Granted, he does have a deal with Reebok that pays him $800,000 per year until he dies, but it's still a huge fall-off compared to how much he lost.
Okay, but with a deal like that until death, he's always going to be okay. So I don't know if I would really consider this number 1, because number 1 means you ain't got no more money coming. You know, like the Derrick Coleman situation or the Latrell Sprewell situation, and there's probably some others in here. There is no more money coming in, so it's over. But no matter how much money AI might spend, he's always got almost, $0.8 million coming every single year. So he's not going to starve. He's not going to go homeless. He'll be okay.
In 2012, he told a judge that his yearly income was $800,000, but his yearly expenses were roughly $4 million.
Well, you got to stop spending so much.
Maybe he's not completely broke now, but he'll get there pretty fast at this rate.
Okay, the only thing that if they say he's in debt, it's still not as bad, but that's a bad sign.
Even Reebok might not save him. Iverson's basic monthly costs include over $30,000 in clothes, restaurants, and groceries.
What the hell?
And sometimes, just like Antoine Walker, he would compulsively buy everything for his friends and family. Not only that, but Iverson apparently didn't trust any banks, and instead keep his money stored in garbage bags.
Oh no. Oh no. No, AI, no. I don't trust the banks either, but maybe split the difference, put half in the bank. That way, if
around his house. This led to numerous attempts at robbery, and even Iverson himself stated that he didn't keep track of his finances, so he wasn't sure if money ever got stolen or anything.
Yeah.
During his prime, Iverson turned it up 10 notches, and was always infamous for his ridiculous spending habits. According to Matt Barnes, he would drop $30,000 to $40,000 at strip clubs every weekend.
Jeez.
One time, he even forgot where he parked his car, so instead of looking for it, he bought a new one.
I heard this story, yeah.
Nowadays, he's just floating by now, and while I doubt he'll ever be homeless or anything due to his safety net, the amount of money he lost was still absolutely insane.
Damn, man.
Anyway, that's all, folks. Those were 8 NBA players, most of which were former stars, who became broke and lost the majority of their wealth. It's an issue that's plagued professional athletes ever since the birth of professional sports, because these athletes tend to not know much about financial planning
and lottery
because
winners.
They don't learn that. Fortunately, it's changing though. The NBA has started to launch programs for young players to manage their money.
Good.
Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.
Yeah, that was a great video. Okay, so good to hear that the NBA is starting to implement programs. Hopefully, like I said, it's educational and not like, hey, give us your money and we'll invest it for you, because then it's the same freaking problem. But yeah, hopefully, and that's what I would assume it would be. It would be, let's have a program to educate these guys. But yeah, what did we learn today? One, just because you make money, it doesn't mean all your family and your friends make money. So be careful with what you do there. 2, don't live above your means. 3, don't be so greedy and selfish to think you're entitled to more and more and more money. No, eventually it'll run dry. Man, I lost count. Not 1, not 2, not 3, 4. Invest your money, guys. The second you get that, it's one big giant common mistake, because we live in such a narcissistic society these days, is the second you get money, or even the second you have you sign a deal and you have a promise of money, people go out and buy extravagant things to flex. Well, not the brightest thing to do, you guys. Like, if you take that money initially and you just invest it, and then you say, well, it's cool because in another 3 years or whatever, I'm going to sign another deal and it's going to be worth even more. So if I invest my money now and get a head start, then I could live a more lavish lifestyle on my next deal. And if that way, if your next deal never comes, you didn't blow it. Your money is secure. You can have a career-ending injury or whatever and never be able to hoop again, yet you still have millions of dollars invested, saved, preserved. Shoot. Yeah, you are not a walking ATM machine. All these things are important. Like, I've told all of my friends and my family, like, it's a small list these days, but let's say there's about like 10 of them that I've always said, if I ended up like with like $100 million that just dropped in my lap, I'm like, there's a couple of you who are getting 1. I'm giving you 1, and never ask me for money again. Like, if I ever hear anything about you asking me for money, like, we got a problem. But that 1 should take care of you, and I will advise you on how to invest that 1. But that's if I ended up with like $100 freaking million. You know what I mean? Shoot, that would be the dream. That would be the dream. Anyways, you guys, be careful with your money. Don't let anybody else handle your money. Be afraid of banks, but not so afraid of banks that you're not willing to put your money in there. Like, come on now. Come on. All right, I'm out of here, you guys. Thank you so much for the request to watch this, and yeah, just let it be a lesson to all of you and to me and everybody that just because you make money doesn't mean you get to keep that money. If you mess it up, you mess it up. So I never care about like how much someone is making a year. You know, when they're trying to flex or whatever, like, oh, I make $200,000 a year. Cool. How much money you got saved? This is always the question I ask people. If you're trying to flex on that, how much money you got in the bank? That tells me what type of person you are. You know, are you showboating or are you actually wealthy? Not like it matters to me. In fact, I don't really prefer being around. I know a lot of people who like to be around rich people. I don't like it at all. I have nothing in common. We don't see the world the same. I don't believe in just blowing money extravagantly, irresponsibly like that. And yeah, man, I don't know. I've seen money turn decent people into absolute monsters. So yeah, not my crew. So I'd be one of those guys if I ever became like a millionaire. I would not be hanging around other millionaires. I'll put it that way. All right, guys. I'm out of here. Thanks for watching. Like the vid. Subscribe to the channel if you want more finance advice. And be money, my friends. I'm just kidding. Be water, my friends. I'll see you all in the comments, all right? Peace out.